If you're anything like me, LEGO media was a huge part of your childhood. The early 2010s were a goldmine of LEGO shows and movies. Can you believe that the LEGO movie came out in 2014? 2014! I've become an old man. I'm gonna die soon. Of course, out of all of these, none have stuck so much as LEGO Ninjago. If you're even more like me, you have nostalgic memories of watching the first few seasons of LEGO Ninjago and then stopping. It wasn't until my freshman year of college that I realized Ninjago was still going on, with 15 seasons. And now a sequel series has been running for the past 3 years with 4 seasons. This new series is called Ninjago Dragons Rising, and it follows the original cast of Ninja, thank God, and several newcomers. As someone who's had experience with the LEGO Ninjago show, I thought it would be an interesting idea to review the first season of LEGO Ninjago Dragons Rising and compare it to the very first season of the original LEGO Ninjago show, and find out if a sequel really can be better than the original. There's a few things we need to compare. The main ones are character introductions, character development, and actual plot. We could focus on things like animation quality and soundtrack, but both soundtracks aren't too different, and come on, the sequel was made over a decade later, it's gonna have better animation quality. A show is only as good as its characters. You could have a really bad story, but have good, memorable characters, and people would still like the show. But you could have a great story and bad characters, and nobody will like it. The first 2 episodes of Dragons Rising are a part 1 and part 2 entitled The Merge. The main idea of this sequel series is the Merge, a mysterious event where all 16 realms combined into one world. They merged, you might say. Our first character is Aaron, a young boy from Ninjago who idolizes the ninja and wants to be like them. When the merge happened, he was separated from his parents and now has no idea where they are.
And since the ninja disappeared, I realized it's up to me to carry on their legendary tradition.
I think his introduction was good. It starts with him narrating about the merge and then shifting into more personal motivations. And these motivations make sense. He wants his parents back, he wants to be a ninja, and though not explicitly stated, he wants things to return back to the way they were. That last one is something I believe contrasts a lot with the next character, Sora.
Aaron, not to insult the dreams of my best new friend, but you are so not a ninja.
I thought this opening scene with Sora and Aaron in the junkyard was pretty adequate. The two of them have opposing backgrounds. Sora is from another realm and has never seen the ninja and doesn't really care about them. Aaron aligns much more with the average Ninjago viewer, fanciful and excited to see ninja kick butt across the world, while Sora is much more practical and realistic. This scene shows them stealing parts from a junkyard and fighting their way out. It's a standard opening, just starting the main characters in the middle of an action sequence and having their dialogue conveniently explain their relationship and current struggles. But hey, it's a popular method for a reason. Towards the end, we finally get our little interesting character teases. These are the things about the character that makes you pause and say, oh, this character is not normal and is worth following for 20 episodes. For Aaron, it's spinjitzu. He has this weird half spinjitzu that he can perform. It's not instantly explained and is treated like some common thing that Aaron can do, which I think is perfect. Soon after, we get Sora's. Sora is from the Kingdom of Imperium, an advanced realm now placed next to Ninjago City. Aaron initially seems impressed by Imperium and wants to visit, only for Sora to shut him down, claiming that Imperium is not what it seems.
The merge might have taken away everything you had, Aaron, but it's given me everything I have.
This is a perfect representation of these two characters' mindsets. Aaron wants to go back, while Sora wants to keep going forward. Already, this sets up an interesting plot. There's a lot of questions to be answered. What the heck is the merge? Where are the ninja? It's weird to have the opening episode of a Ninjago show have 0 ninja in it. I remember being flabbergasted the whole time I watched the start of the season. It was just so different from everything I'd been used to. Lloyd is the only ninja at the start. Of course, he's not a new character, but he does have new struggles, particularly his imposter syndrome from Master Wu being missing. I think this is a good direction to take Lloyd. He was always destined to be the next ninja master and take over from Sensei Wu. And that's all the major protagonists at the start of the show. I mean, there's Ryu the dragon, who they save from Imperium guards, and that's how Lloyd meets Aaron and Sora, but he's a dragon. It's hard to talk about a character's introduction when he's more like a pet than a character. Let's stop and take a look at how Season 1 of the show introduced its characters, namely Kai, Nia, and Sensei Wu. Now, already, it's a little unfair to compare these two intros as they have different goals. Dragons Rising leans heavily on the 15 previous seasons of the original show. It uses terms like Ninjago and the Ninja and 16 Realms without explaining what they are. It's a sequel series. They assume you already know these things, which is perfectly valid. The beginning of the original pilot episodes have slow shots, calming music, giving you the essence of a world the audience has never seen before. That's not needed in Dragons Rising. I'm going to save comparing Kai and Nia from the original show to Dragons Rising until the end. I have a gripe section planned out and they have to go in it. As the Dragons Rising season goes on, there's one other character who gets added to the ninja roster, Wildfire. I both love and hate her. Wildfire is a very fun character, but initially she appears to disregard the one main rule of elemental powers. There cannot be two masters of the same element. She seems to have fire powers like Kai, which makes no sense. Later on, it's revealed that her element is heat, not fire. And I feel like that's not enough of a difference to warrant a new element. At least, not in the way they portrayed it. Right now, it's just fire with some slightly altered animation. If they had leaned more into the radiation side of heat, maybe made her blast look more like airwaves or balls of energy the color of the sun, I could see that being unique enough. Even her dialogue is about fire, not heat.
Halt! Fire is danger!
I am fire! I am danger!
They should have said fire is hot and hot is dangerous. That would have been enough information that you could catch it on a rewatch, but not notice it the first time. Wildfire is definitely a minor character in this season. There's a lot about her past that doesn't get answered or really even mentioned outside of her flashbacks for the audience. I found myself thoroughly enjoying the story of this season. It was split into two parts, with the first 10 episodes focusing on breaking into Imperium, and the last 10 focusing on collecting the Dragon Cores. It's a coherent story with a little too much filler mixed in. There were a couple of episodes that really did not need to exist. The beginning of the story was the writers setting up the new world and giving us time to get used to the characters, and then it melded into a typical fetch quest plot. Fortunately for this season, Rise of the Snakes was also just a massive fetch quest. Actually, a lot of Ninjago seasons have just been reskin versions of go find these items and use them to save the world. Huh, wow, I've never noticed that before. The villains were entertaining enough. At the start of the show, they introduce Lord Roz, a black tiger from Chima, although canonically the realm is called the Wildness. He is awesome. His first scene is him being angry and powerful. It was an actual threat to the ninja and co. Unfortunately, he is not the main antagonist. The real main villain is introduced a few episodes later as Empress Beatrix, the ruler of Imperium. Imperium is a highly dystopian society where anyone who expresses themselves against the Empress is, to put it bluntly, taken out back and shot. But she just wasn't super intimidating. Like, I couldn't be afraid of her. She didn't look or sound menacing enough, plus she was just kind of a cookie-cutter villain. She wanted to rule for power's sake and had Roz help her kill the rest of her family, and she took over. Like, even if you kept all of their dialogues and personality the same, but swapped Roz and Beatrix's spots, it would be better. Roz just looks and sounds so much more intimidating. He needed more screen time in this season, and I know he gets more in later seasons, but still, he's the only interesting villain in this show. Another antagonist character is Rabton, who is the leader of the dragon hunting operation in Imperium. Imperium siphons the power out of dragons and uses it for energy, which I will admit is unique and interesting. Rabton as a character, however, is a letdown. His defining feature is that he's an idiot. The way he acts in the show is ridiculous, especially when you remember that he's supposed to be the lead dragon hunter responsible for catching all the dragons in Imperium. I don't buy it. The writer should have made Rabton a very skilled and threatening villain and just had his troops be random stupid grunts. That would have made the chase scenes more intense and the moments where Rabton gets beaten feel more like a victory and not make me want to scream, "Just get on with it already!" The premise of stopping and overthrowing a fascist dictator, I don't know, it's weird that I'm using those words in a Lego show, but it is cool. The Imperium guards and soldiers look cool. The whole city is very reminiscent of Lego Nexo Knights, which I enjoy. It's just the main antagonizing characters are lacking. All right, let's talk about... Honestly, when it comes to characters changing and improving over the season, there's a lot less than I thought. There's 3 characters that have noticeable growth: Sora, Wildfire, and Lloyd, in that order. I am conflicted about Sora. I like that she's smart and willing to help and goes through this really nice character arc where she starts off unconfident and with low self-esteem and slowly shifts into someone who ends up leading her people to revolution and exposing the crimes of her ruler. But I hate her elemental power. I hate it. Okay, let's talk about the good character things first. Sora ran away from Imperium when she was young. She was a brilliant inventor who created a hard light projector at like 10 years old. That is Tony Stark level stuff. Of course, once the government got their hands on it, they turned it into a weapon. Seeing this, Sora refused to help build weapons or siphon energy from dragons. She was disowned by her parents and ran away once the merge hit. Because of that, she never felt like she was worth anything. Her own parents didn't believe in her, so why should she? Once Sora finds out that she has elemental powers, she spends most of the season believing they aren't even hers and they only come from Ryu the dragon. It wasn't until the last battle where she gained the confidence to use her powers herself and save the day. Nice. Beautiful. That is good character development. Compared to her, no one else really comes close. Wildfire has some development where she goes from a crazy one-man show and I don't listen to anybody to actually being willing to learn from Kai and slow down, but she's only introduced in the second half of the show, and the episodes where she does change are in the second half of that. The first 10 episodes feature Lloyd trying to fill the shoes of Master Wu now that he's missing. He tries to do everything himself and be just like Wu. Obviously this fails because he's not Master Wu. Eventually he learns that it's okay to do things differently and have help running the monastery and training the new ninja. I appreciate that they gave Lloyd a fair bit of screen time this season. I feel like the other ninja didn't really get a ton and were just nothing burgers in the background. Unfortunately, they really do stay this way even into seasons 2 and 3. I feel like they ruined Kai. They needed a comic relief character because Jay wasn't there, and they turned Kai from an actual serious person like in Rise of the Snakes to an easy laugh for Dragons Rising. For most of the original show, Kai's source of comedy came only from one-liners and the occasional fire pun. He was serious most of the time and tended to make good, strong decisions. Now he's an idiot who doesn't think, makes stupid choices, and isn't respected by both in-story characters or the audience. He's acting like the pilot episode Kai rather than the Kai that gave up being the Green Ninja to save Lloyd from a volcano. That Kai wouldn't have gotten into bickering matches with Wildfire every 4 seconds. Zane as well. I feel like he's been slowly shifting his personality to the sole fact that he is a robot. This has been happening literally ever since the 4th season of the original show, where he's changed from a robot who was so advanced that he looked and acted like a human to a robot who is just a smart robot. I don't like that he doesn't have a regular human voice anymore. I know it's been a while since he has, but it just makes him less human, which I think goes directly against what Zane is supposed to be. I am surprised that the writers didn't dive deeper into the new characters this season. Season 1 of the original show made time for all 4 ninja and a little bit of Nia in 13 episodes. I understand that this time around the writers knew there were going to be multiple seasons and it was okay to push stuff off to later. It's just weird to see where they decided to spend their episode time. There are a few episodes like where Aaron and Lloyd spend an entire 20 minutes fighting fish people and doing nothing else. That was just straight filler. But a lot of the episodes were like half important story and half unimportant story. They could have put more effort into the new characters is all I'm saying. Okay, now it's time for... I have a list of grievances not only against this season of Dragons Rising, but the sequel show as a whole. These are things that I feel apply to every Dragons Rising season, not just the first one. They are as follows. Sora's powers. They are the stupidest elemental power that they could have come up with. She has tech powers. I hate that word when it's used to describe literally anything that moves or lights up. It's too vague. I despise it when she says, "I'm naturally good at tech stuff." Shut up! Please! This elemental power is such a cop-out. Need a new vehicle to escape certain doom as you fall off a cliff? Just have Sora turn metal scraps into a fully working flying machine. Or need to disarm all the attacking soldiers? Just have Sora turn off their swords. Dragons Rising introduces a lot of new elemental powers to the world, most of which suck. Another power that shows up in this season is fusion. What on earth does that mean? What are the rules? Can anything be fused together? How strong is it? What if I fuse the tip of a pen to a mountain? Is the pen now unmovable? I feel like the directors of the show just stuck the writers in a room 5 minutes before the workday was over and said, we need 10 new elemental powers, figure it out. And these were the first ideas that popped into their head or something. I have one final gripe I want to talk about. There are more, I'm just going to save them for a future video. The final gripe is the Cloud Kingdom and Euphrasia, the new master of wind. There's an episode where the ninja find the Cloud Kingdom. The Cloud Kingdom is where destiny is written. Or well, it was until they retconned it in this season. It's ironic, actually. Oh, you could say the merge messed up the powers of the Cloud Kingdom and now they no longer write destiny. But the ninja were definitely insinuating that the Cloud Monks never had power, which is just straight up wrong. I went back to season 5 of the original show, and they very clearly pointed out that their writing has powers. The whole tangent isn't a big deal, but it kind of annoyed me. In the Cloud Kingdom, there is Euphrasia, a girl who has been granted the elemental power of wind. And I really like her. She was reluctant to use her powers for fear of getting kicked out of the Cloud Kingdom, only to finally use them to help save everyone as they are attacked. Why wasn't she a main character instead of Sora? Do you know how awesome it would be to have an elemental master of wind interact with Lloyd again? Maybe she gets visited by Moro, and maybe she wrestles with being the successor of the guy who tried to kill all the ninja. Euphrasia should have been a main character, or they should have given Sora the wind elemental. There is not a single scenario in this whole season where her tech powers couldn't have been replaced with wind and still worked out. It would have been minor rewrites at most. She would have had an elemental power that we were already familiar with. It could have led to all the cool things that I just mentioned with Euphrasia, and we were robbed of that. So, what am I really trying to say about this show? Is it better than the original season of LEGO Ninjago? I'm gonna say no. But it's not really any worse. Both are kids shows, and at their core, both are just glorified advertisements for LEGO's Ninjago sets. The fact that we get anything beyond short little 1-minute animations is mind-blowing to me. I enjoyed Dragons Rising Season 1. I enjoyed Rise of the Snakes slightly more. But I also enjoyed Seasons 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and so forth of Ninjago. I also enjoyed the later seasons of Dragons Rising. There isn't a single piece of Ninjago media that I didn't like. Dragons Rising has flaws, not only in Season 1, but in the rest of the seasons too. However, it holds characters in a world that I've spent the majority of my life watching, playing with, and building. And I think that's all I can really ask for. Hey, if you like this Dragons Rising analysis, I've got a full series overanalyzing each episode of the original LEGO Ninjago show. You should check it out.